fix that? Do you issue a new currency?
So as a general rule, what happens once a currency completely collapses? Yes, the government kind of releases a new one. The idea being it wipes away all the debts and it wipes away their debts, but usually their creditors, by the time a current country's in that kind of trouble, their creditors don't owe them money in their own currency. They owe them money. They've been borrowing in US dollars or borrowing in something else. So that doesn't really work. Take Venezuela, because that's the instance that I know more about than I do, say, Zimbabwe or the Weimar Republic. So yes, sorry, drink.
That would probably be the catalyst for the lumpen proletariats to start to become more political. Yes! Fucking nailed it!
That physically hurt. That
How I got that out, I do not know.
that physically hurt. I'm in pain.
I bleed a win. Yeah. Shit. Gotta be quicker.
I can't believe you got this week.
With all those syllables too, somehow I managed to get it out.
I shouldn't have given you two options. A tactical rookie mistake on my part.
I used it well,
Rookie
didn't I?
You did, actually,
That
yeah.
was great.
But unfortunately, you're wrong. It hasn't historically been a catalyst for the lumpen proletariat to actually rise up. In fact, if my observance of Venezuela drink was
they're already
anything to go
pissed. They're
by,
already passed out. There's no one watching.
oh, so it's normal week then, yeah. So the way it works with the currency is in Venezuela, which is just, I use that example because it's the one that I'm the most familiar with. They inflate the currency to the point that it's practically worthless. They can no longer borrow in that currency. No one's going to lend them anything in that currency. They have to do their borrowing in US dollars and other things. And the exponential effect has kicked in. They're printing money to pay their bills and keep up with their interest payments and everything else. But then it's the steam train is picking up so much speed that next month they have to print more money, and then the month after that even more money, and therefore the devaluation just gets worse and worse. So once you're in that spiral, there's really no way out of that with the existing currency.
Yeah.
So what they did was they announced that all of the existing money was gone, and that they were issuing a new currency, and they physically issued new notes so that you could tell the difference. And people just threw their old money onto the street. I mean, their old notes were already pretty much worthless. I've made the point before that their $1 Bolivar notes, which was their smallest note, obviously, that was literally worth less than a sheet of actual toilet paper. A single square of actual toilet paper was physically worth more than a single Bolivar note. So it would, if you wiped your ass with your cash, you would save money.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Right? And that was literally true in the case of Venezuela.
It might chafe a little bit.
Well, look, with the older notes that are kind of soft, have been handled a lot. You just don't think about all the germs that are on there. I just try not to think too hard about that. So then what happens, though, is ultimately you're still asking your creditors to have some faith in the government's ability to manage its own economy, to manage its own affairs, etc. If you don't fix the underlying rot, the country just ends up back in the same spot with a different currency very, very quickly. Yeah. The other way that Zimbabwe went for quite some time before the complete collapse was they just started adding zeros and zeros and zeros, and then they just start deleting zeros and say, okay, we're just going to drop 6 zeros off the end of our currency and pretend that that's, because the zeros just become a problem in themselves. None of these solutions are good. None of them work. And it's one of the reasons why, in my opinion, governments should not issue their own currencies. And this is a really counterintuitive thing for a lot of people. They're like, but hang on, a government has to issue it. If it's not issued by a government, how could we trust it? Well, I'm sorry, if you pay attention to history, if it's issued by a government, how can you trust it? There is nothing there. And so privately issued currencies actually still exist. Yeah. Cryptocurrencies are an example of a privately issued currency. And again, most of them are completely worthless. Yeah. I mean, you could argue that all of them are completely worthless, but most of them are functionally worthless as well. They are a scam. A lot of crypto is a scam. It's literally a pump and dump scheme. They market it, they get you excited about it, they sell it to you, and then they walk away. Yeah, it's like that. And they pocket the cash.
That happened at the start of the year, that Hawk 2.
Oh, yeah, all those coins. Yeah. So, and I don't think she knew that that's what that was.
No, I think she got swindled.
She got used, basically. But cryptocurrency as a concept can be a completely legitimate currency. And I would argue that there are some that are performing the function of a legitimate currency. Yeah. Bitcoin being one of them. I saw that at work in Venezuela because that was one of the things that they turned to when their currency was becoming completely worthless. Yeah. I'm not suggesting that people need to put their life savings into Bitcoin, but I would strongly recommend, if you're watching this podcast and you don't yet have a Bitcoin wallet and have made at least one transaction, just do it. Just find something that you can order online or find a shop near you that accepts Bitcoin. Walk in there, play with the app and get them to help you until you've made a transaction and bought something with Bitcoin. That as a backstop, as a way of being able to do business.
Yeah.
When your currency is hyperinflating, that literally saved lives in Venezuela. I met people that ran their entire lives on Bitcoin.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well, I know El Salvador. He's my mate, Nayab.
Yeah.
Is that part of the drinking game?
Friend of the show. It should be.
Yeah, it should be. Drink.
Are we going to tell people about your plan for the OG Oddies? Or is that just going to be a surprise?
No, we can
later?
tell them.
Yeah, you're going to tell them?
Yeah.
Because we've got to start collecting what the correct terms are.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. OG Oddies. Well, to be
Hang
fair.
on, finish your story and
Okay.
then let's go to that.
No, I know Nayab has been a massive supporter of Bitcoin, and I think
It's a reserve currency for them, I
Yeah, I
believe.
think El Salvador has some of the biggest national reserves in the world, and I know he keeps buying it. And look, I'll be completely honest. G's really into crypto. I've got a lot of friends who are into crypto. I understand it on a fairly rudimentary level. I get the premise of it. I understand how it can be adapted.
Premise
sorry.
of it?
Premise, whatever.
You've been spending too long putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable, doing your dissertation, doing your doctoral, your master's
Dude,
thesis.
I just got lumpen proletariat out. Come on. Give me a win.
Yeah, all right. You get some credit for that.
Right, so you've
Your mate, Naya, now it's me. This is a
contagious.
communicable disease.
It's contagious.
Nayab, friend of the show, collecting Bitcoin, and the fact
I'm
that
saying
you're
I
not-
don't quite understand.
Yeah.
Like, I do understand it as like, this is how you buy it. I have a crypto wallet myself. I have crypto.
Yeah.
But as far as like understanding it in terms of how we can use it and setting up different investments so that we can ride this storm out. I've watched a lot of stuff. I've watched The Unemployables because is it Adam?
Adam Hudson, yeah. So he's the one that's moved to Cyprus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've watched people like him talk about it a lot.
Yeah. So I've got him. I'm doing a slow chat with him tomorrow night, by the way,
Okay.
which I haven't promoted on my page yet, but I hopefully will have done that by the time you're watching this on Wednesday night. But yeah, I've got him on as a slow chat tomorrow night.
I like listening to these people, but I will say I do not have confidence in my own ability. And I've felt like that about financial stuff my whole life. Like, I understand things at this much, but then when I hear these super in-depth chats around, tax havens and moving here and doing this, it's over
So
my head.
from my point of view, it's not about tax minimization or avoidance or anything like that. It's about permissionless transactions. It's about not needing your bank to say yes to you, not needing your government policy to allow you to make the transaction. If you have a Bitcoin wallet and the person you want to transact with has a Bitcoin wallet, that transaction will happen. Now, there are some technical limitations that mean it might take 10 or 20, 30 minutes for it to happen because of the way Bitcoin's structured, and there are other layers that are working on that, and that's where you go down that technical rabbit hole and it all gets very confusing. But fundamentally, if you have Bitcoin and the person you want to transact with will accept Bitcoin, or if you can offer products and services and you will accept Bitcoin and they have Bitcoin,
Are there still
what's happening.
surcharges? Because obviously Bitcoin mining and
There are transaction charges. Not every single cent makes it all the way through, but the same is true when you pay through PayPal or you
No.
pay through,
I don't- that was what I was asking though,
Yeah.
because I understand that if you're using third-party gateways and things like that, there will be a transaction fee because everyone has to
and
get
the
paid.
same is true with Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
The biggest limitation with Bitcoin is that there can be time lag.
Okay.
Right? When I tap my card to buy a coffee, my normal bank card to buy a coffee, it confirms within seconds that transaction's all good and I can have my coffee.
Yeah.
The same isn't true if you're using Bitcoin at its base layer.
Yeah, okay.
There are solutions that have been developed, but pretty much all of these solutions and Bitcoin itself depends on mass adoption.
Right.
And that's why it worked in a place like Venezuela, was because the pain was so acute
Yeah.
that the lumpen proletariat all went
look at
and
you. It
got.
doesn't count now.
I know, but I'm just saying I could have, right?
Yeah.
I could have, would have, should have. I would have been a contender. Is
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah, coulda, shoulda.
So they adopted it in sufficient numbers that all of a sudden, you could buy your groceries on
Yeah, okay.
Bitcoin. You could. I met people that were running entire businesses. Now they were generally online businesses. They were
Yeah.
offering services outside of Venezuela, getting paid in Bitcoin, paying their team in Bitcoin. Their team were able to. Some of them were able to pay their rent in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Buy groceries in Bitcoin. There was an entire subset. It was still a minority, but it was
Yeah.
an enormous minority within the Venezuelan community
Yeah.
had shifted their entire lives across to Bitcoin, and that's how they survived.
I've watched quite a lot about it. I rode that Bitcoin wave early days, and I actually made a little bit of money, not heaps, but I made about 10 grand a long time ago.
Yeah.
I wish I had kept it because
Yeah,
that
of
would be
course.
worth.
Yeah.
But back then it was so volatile and we didn't know anything anyway. But I feel like a lot of people, I've seen this happen. A lot of people jump on because of FOMO and then get rolled and lose money. So I think there's a real lack of financial literacy around different ways of rolling out cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And it worries me a little bit that people are like, oh shit, I better do this. I'm like, if I can't explain it to a 5-year-old, I'm not doing it.
And I wouldn't necessarily suggest people get onto it as a store of value. So there's two different ways you could view it. You could view it the way you'd view gold and silver. It's not what you use for transactions, but it's your hedge against inflation.
You're holding it.
The problem is Bitcoin does not currently behave like a hedge.
Yeah.
Bitcoin behaves like a stock.
Because it's volatile.
Well, not so much because it's volatile, which direction it goes in depending on the news. A hedge, the whole idea is that it's what protects you when there's bad news.
Okay.
So watch what happens when there's bad news, gold goes up.
Yeah.
Right? Now, sometimes when there's good news, gold goes up as well. But oftentimes people rush into gold because they go, oh, the economy's bad, the numbers are bad, things might turn bad. I want to get my money out of the economy and into gold. It's seen as this separate thing, a hedge. It's a protection.
Yeah.
With Bitcoin, when there's bad economic news, it drops the same way that stocks do. So people are viewing it not as a hedge, but as a speculation. So normally on a podcast like this, when you've got two people, one of them is the brains of the operation and the other one's the eye candy. In this case, I have to be both, which is, oi, excuse me, this one's, Carly, this one's about me. I have to be both.
It's actually about me.
Seriously, I have to be both, which means I need lots of coffee, lots of caffeine. So you can help me to get lots of caffeine by scanning that little QR code there so that I can just carry this podcast on my...
And subscribe because I'm ridiculously good looking.
Seriously, Carly, can you not... Wow. She's such a center of attention, isn't she? Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Bye.